good to go.
Sounds good. So welcome everyone to the Design Review Board meeting of March 17th, 2021. Let's see, we've got a little coronavirus consistent with Executive Order N-29-20. In-person participation by the public will not be permitted, and no physical location from which the public may observe the meeting will be available. Remote public participation is allowed using the Zoom program. In order to minimize the spread of COVID-19 virus, the City of Scottsville is providing multiple alternatives to view public meetings and provide comments on the items on the agenda. These alternatives allow the city to adhere to social distancing requirements, follow the governor's order N-29-20, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act, and provide a way for the public to provide public comment during the meeting. So here we are. Alan, if you wouldn't mind doing a roll call.
All right, so let's start with Carrie Bush.
Here.
Ted Lutham.
Here.
Weinberg.
Here.
Ron Harry. Not here. And I did not receive any notice from him that he was not going to be here, so it's unexcused. And I did hear from Christine that she would not be joining us today, so it's an excused absence. And then Marshall attempted to join us, but due to technical difficulties is unable to join us at this time. Hopefully he will be able to join us soon. So that's it. That's a roll call.
Let's see, we have some recent minutes and some old minutes. I don't think we can approve the December 2nd or the December 9th minutes, but it was the three of us on the 3rd. So I think we can have a look at those minutes. One thing I noticed was under the roll call, it listed Christine and Ron as present, and it also listed them as absent.
Thank you for noticing that.
That was the only thing I saw. Any other comments on minutes?
Nope.
Yeah, I saw, I think it was on the March 3rd minutes. It's a little bizarre technical possible error, but it listed here that I think it was in the first, oh man, I'm looking for it. It's hard to find these things now, but you have them. Oh, right here, yeah. On page 3 of 6, it just noted in the sentence in terms of visual screening that the tanks is probably not the best food forward, is my best foot forward. So I don't know if that's much of an.
Hi there, guys. I'm late, but I'm here.
There he is.
We had things going on here today and I almost forgot. Anyway, I'm here.
All right, thanks for joining us, Ron.
Hey, how do I turn on my beautiful face here on the screen? What do I do? Does it mute or no?
There should be a start video option.
Probably down on the lower left next to the mute button.
Yeah, I'm there.
Yep.
I got it. Okay.
There he is.
Yep, I'm here.
Sounds good. We're just reviewing minutes from the last meeting, and I think you missed that one. So Carrie's just pointing out a typo on page 3 of 6. Best food forward.
Okay.
I love food, but it was my foot. Or someone's foot.
If it's just a minutes, I probably didn't miss anything, right?
Yeah.
It was just a test to see if you're reading them, Carrie.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's a transcription in, wow. Other than that, I mean, I read the whole thing and it picked up most of what we were looking for.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sounds good. Someone want anything from you, Lars?
No.
All right. Someone want to make a motion to approve minutes?
Sure, I'll move to approve the minutes as written, other than the food and the foot.
All right. How about a
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approval? Aye.
Right.
All right. Minutes are approved, at least the minutes that we can approve. Let's see, with Ron here, can we approve some of these other minutes? I believe we can. So we have minutes from December 2nd and minutes from December 9th that we can also approve now that three of us are here. Did anybody have any comments on the December, starting with the December 3rd minutes? Anybody have any comments on the 3rd minutes?
No, December 2nd minute.
December 2nd, yes. I'm sorry, December 2nd.
No comments.
No comments, okay. Can I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve those minutes.
All right, can I get a second? And Ron, I think I would need you for the second since you were in attendance.
Yes, I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call the question. All in favor of approving the December 2nd meeting minutes, say aye. Aye. All opposed? None. December 2nd minutes are approved. And let's do the same for the December 9th minutes. Any comments on those?
No comments.
That was a facade improvement plan.
That was the livery, wasn't it?
Oh, that was the, yes, I'm sorry. I'm on my thing today.
Livery. Nope, that all looks good.
Livery looked good to me as well. All right, can I have a motion for approval of these minutes?
I will move to approve those as well.
Sounds good. Lars is on a roll.
I'll second them, I guess. Okay.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor of approval? Aye. All right.
Yeah.
All opposed? Seeing none, minutes are approved. That's good. We had those things kind of lingering out there. So onward. Planning department update on matters of general interest. Anything interesting going on?
There's always something interesting going on, Deb. So I thought I'd share, since I was here for the beginning of the meeting, and I will leave after this and let you get on to your business, but I figured I'd share a few things that are going on in the city. A couple of bright spots. The Libby Park Super Playground had a very small ribbon cutting. That's a new replacement structure in Libby Park. It's actually been there for about 6 or 8 months, but given COVID, we've been struggling with how to celebrate that. And we actually came up with and actually the credit goes to Holly Hansen helping us out on this, a treasure hunt. And what it is there are maps at City Hall, and paper maps, letter size, and at Libby Park in the little library box by the playground. Public Works has put up stickers all around the play. There's actually the Slow Cat stickers. So the Slow Cat is out at the park, and there's Slow Cat stickers all around the park and in the playground area. And kids are encouraged to find as many as they can, mark them on the map, and submit them to the city. That runs through the end of April, and then we'll collect those and tally those, and the winners will, for the 3 different age groups, will actually get trophies that are being donated by Patrick Amiel. So that'll be kind of a fun way of socially distanced celebration that kids can do, this spring. So happy about that. The Public Art Committee, as Lars can probably speak to as well, has been working on getting the NetCon sculpture location and revised design. The council approved the revised design a couple meetings ago, but wanted to relook at the location. And it looks like we will have a location worked out northwest of the Highway 12 bridge, the Caltrans bridge, right at the entry of town. And that resolves a lot of the issues and the long-standing delays dealing with Caltrans, having it in the right-of-way, and the cost associated with the over-engineering of what they were requiring. So that should be moving forward. I think we'll be going back to council in April to finalize the site for that. We will also be doing development impact fee update that we've been working on, and that will also be heard tentatively scheduled for council in April. The planning commission has already heard and recommended that, and so we have sort of the draft fees, but the fees in the full study will be going to council for adoption. in April. The sort of major application updates. Of course, we extended all permits, planning permits and whatnot for 1 year. So those, so like the hotel Sebastopol, I cannot that they've continued through their building permit process, and their building permit, all of those issues are resolved and ready for issuance. So they're not sure when they'll pick it up. But they are continuing to make progress on that. I know that was a critical project involving this board before my tenure. And then we have had some movement on the Woodmark project. I don't know if Alan has updated you in the past, but we did receive a formal application from them in December. They then, at the beginning of February, withdrew that application and submitted their intent to submit under the state law SB 35, which is the ministerial process for that. And we are currently confirming eligibility, whether, we have, I think, 60 days to confirm whether or not they can go through that process. So we're looking at that very closely. Obviously, we know it's an important project that the community is very interested, as well as this board is interested in. So we will know more about that next month. I've been working on that. Dave Hogan, a consulting planner, senior planner, has been working on that, and our outside counsel and has also been helping us with that. We have received a number of comments on that. Normally we hold comments for hearings so that you get that along with the application. However, given their withdrawal, we are going to go ahead and forward you those who public comments where they had requested they come to the DRB. We will forward those to you. We'll probably package those in one single PDF so you can, but want to get those to you as part of the public record. A couple other things on the housing front going on. The Planning Commission is actually doing a series of housing presentations this spring, organized by one of the commissioners. We had a presentation on co-housing in 2 Acre Woods and Sequoia Village at our last meeting, and there are not next Tuesday, but in March and April, we will have a presentation at each of those meetings. Our department's working on a flyer so people can see what's coming up and mark their calendars if they're interested. And then we are also going to be doing a housing law presentation to City Council. This will be the same general, slightly modified because obviously there's some updated regulations, but the same type of presentation that the Joint Planning Commission DRB heard a year or so ago at the Planning Commission meeting. And so if there are any of you who missed that, I'd encourage you to attend that presentation. Will help explain, certainly we'll go over the SB 35 regulations, but also a number of the other regulations. I think probably the only regulations we didn't touch on too much were the ADU accessory dwelling unit regulations, because our codes are all up to date, and that was sort of an easy thing for us because we were already doing best practices in a lot of those areas and didn't have to change a lot compared to some communities. And so that's tentatively scheduled for April 20th at City Council. So, and I think that's it for my updates. If you have any questions on these, and I think I might have a couple of climate action committee updates after.
Actually, I have a couple questions. Do you mind?
Sure.
One from the general public question concerning fire trucks.
Okay. I may not be able to answer this, but I know who can.
Okay. One is there is some comment about our fire trucks being out of date and have to be upgraded at major expense. You know anything about that?
There was, so we did just have the mid-year budget hearings at City Council about a month ago or so. There wasn't anything significant for the planning department, but there is discussion. There is one vehicle in particular, I believe, that the fire department has, which is fairly old. It does not have air conditioning, and so you can imagine when people are up fighting the wildfires, and this truck is one that's sent up for mutual aid to fight a lot of fires. It's sort of a bird. It's difficult for the firefighters who are already enduring some extreme heat to then not be able to take a break and having any coolness. It's also quite old, I believe. I don't know all the details. I'm happy to get those to you from our fire chief, but he does have a request in for budget to purchase a new one. I think one of the things he's also looking at is when he does send Sebastopol Fire personnel on the truck out, he does get some amount of reimbursement from the state for that vehicle that's sent out. And so,
Okay, that was just a question from a local person here. Another one.
well, hopefully they're listening, or you can point them to the video.
Well, anyway, one of the questions, Sarah Gurney said that the meeting last week spent 3 hours on the car wash. What was
Thank you.
What
Thank you.
ever
Sorry.
on that?
Sorry, I completely dropped that one. Yeah, so the city council did approve the use permit and variance and tentative parcel map for Benedetti Tire to add a car wash at the south side of their property. It would be accessed mainly off of Abbott Avenue. Sorry, Barnes Avenue. So where that sort of back corner behind east side of CVS and where Pete's Coffee was for a very brief period of time by the feed store. You could also access it through the Benedetti Tire, but obviously that would mostly be for when people are bringing their service in for tires. Their staff, their plan is for to provide that as a service. So if you drop your car off in the morning for tires or an oil change, you can include a car wash and pick it up, and it's all done for you at the end of the day. The council did have, they addressed a number of concerns. And actually it took our planning commission 3 meetings to get through, discuss all the various issues as well. Our planning commission had recommended denial based on a couple of factors, mainly walkability and the future vision of Sebastopol and wanting to steer away from auto uses. But they did also discuss, and potential noise issues for adjoining properties. They did also recognize that it's an existing business owner trying to supplement and infill on an existing site. And I think ultimately council felt that and it will be one of the more most environmentally sustainable car washes.
I can't do it. Sorry. Never mind.
Sorry. Okay.
Yes,
so there are a number of things with this particular car wash that council added as conditions. So it can't have any perfumes. It needs to meet their metrics of no more than 5 gallons of water per car wash, which is pretty significant water saving to someone using a hose in a driveway, and 80% recycling of water. It will be, they will have stormwater best management practices, using biodegradable detergents and things like that. And so I think that, ultimately that and supporting local businesses and enhancing that part of town were some of the deciding factors for council. They did ask some, so that will require design review and I think a couple of tree removal permits that will come to your body next. Council did direct the applicant and staff will be reviewing to enhance the landscape on the east side facing the Ford building, and more significantly the parking lot in back of the Ford building, which that owner has indicated he may want to do future mixed-use development in that area. And then also on the south side, they will be there's a plan to extend Abbott Avenue down towards where Elderberry Commons is. That's the new name of Sebastopol Inn project. And so there will also be a sidewalk easement. So future extension of Abbott Avenue on the south side. So they want to make sure that, there's a little bit of a landscape buffer between the sidewalk and the car wash. But of course, all that will be outlined to you when it comes to you for your review.
Okay, I do have one other question, but please be brief on this one. Okay. Okay, the Woodmark thing. Okay, now there has been some scuttlebutt going around that the city attorney has hired a counselor to deal with that? And is this some way or means to bypass the design review committee to get it done or get it passed legally without our approval? That's kind of the rumor going around.
Okay, so those are two questions. One is outside counsel. So the city has city attorneys, and most cities have outside counsels for more complex matters, or when it's more time intensive than the local city attorney can handle. And so yes, we do have a consulting outside counsel, Myers Nave. They represent a number of different cities, including Larkspur and a few others around here. And have some experience helping other cities with the SB 35 application, so they have experience in that area. So yes, they are helping us to make sure that we get the expert legal advice that we need. Again, they're looking at the eligibility process for the items that the planning staff can't review. We can review whether or not it's in a flood zone and things like that, because that's our expertise. But some of the other criteria that aren't necessarily in a planning wheelhouse, they're helping us with those. The SB 35 process, and Ron, I don't know if you were on, or if I think I mentioned the housing law presentation to City Council on April 20th. That will detail out the SB 35 regulations. I think you had missed the one that was the joint DRB Planning Commission. So you might want to attend that to learn more details that I can go into at this time. But yes, SB 35 does, it's called the Streamlined approval process in the state legislation. And it does, it is ministerial, which means you can't use discretionary design guidelines or anything like that. So it is based on zoning metrics and does not require public hearings. It is also exempt from CEQA, but of course we have some, traffic safety and things like that, and we're working with our outside counsel to ensure that those elements where it's where we have to figure out where we have the ability to say no, this just isn't going to work. We need to figure out a different way.
I'd follow up on that one. So if you're sending us public comments about the project, even though it may be we don't actually look at the project.
Correct. So it's a matter of, if a member of the public asks for, hey, can you send this letter to the DRB? It's not really our call to not send it on to you guys, even though you may not be. And they've been, some of them have asked for the letters to go to the Planning Commission as well, which even in a normal review process wouldn't hear this project. So it's just respecting that citizen's request. Most of the neighbors are aware that of what's going on with the SB 35 application. Many of them have been attending the city council meetings and asking for or making public comment to that effect to council. Right. And I know at the last meeting I gave the same brief update I just gave you today, which is why I wanted to hang out and give this update to you so you were all aware of what's going on as well.
And then can I just clarify, you mentioned the hotel, Sebastopol, they have their planning approvals or building permit approvals, or? So
they have all their planning entitlements.
Right.
Their building permit is basically ready to be picked up, if you will. It's ready to be issued. So all of the building code, they've continued to work with their architect and have their architect work through it and all of the code issues, so it's ready to go.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I know you know what that's like, Lars, because when you get that call.
Very exciting. No matter how
you're talking about the Sebastopol Hotel, right, Lars? Not that of the Sebastopol Inn Hotel that's going to be converted.
The hotel.
Yeah.
The new hotel across from the plaza. Yeah.
So speaking of hotels or inns, Sebastopol Inn Hotel is part of the county jurisdiction. Is that correct? Does the city have any way or input on that?
So thank you. I can give an update on that. So it is a county-owned project, and obviously they didn't require a use permit to do the use because of that. However, the housing subcommittee, which includes the Mayor and Councilmember Slater have been working with Supervisor Hopkins and staff from the CECU on that. I'm also part of those meetings, and in talking with them, they discussed, and also in a couple of the meetings that they've had with the business owners, they are going to submit the physical design changes for design review board review. And so that is, trying to respect our process in that way, and make sure that there have, those requests, and some of them, like there's been requests, and there's a design for a little bit of fencing along the connector that's on the east side of that property between the new townhomes and what is now called not Sebastopol Inn, but Elderberry Commons. You'll hear that name. That's what the rechristening of that project is. And so, yeah, so they'll be looking at, they'll be doing, working with us, and they'll be coming to you for fence and any extra changes. And then they will be doing renovations at some point in the future after, the housing of COVID vulnerable folks after the COVID crisis has passed. They'll be renovating to add kitchenettes to those rooms to create permanent supportive housing. It's not a homeless shelter. It's permanent residences for folks until they can, similar to Kirk Village actually, where if they transition into different housing, that's great. Otherwise, there's no time limit, and it's not a seasonal kind of a thing like homeless shelters often are. So if there are physical changes that they propose as part of that, that would also come back to the DRB for design review.
Yeah, well, okay. I didn't know we'd see that sort of thing.
Yeah, technically they don't have to, but they are another governmental agency, community partner. So I think with the discussions council had, and our council members with Supervisor Hopkins made it clear that we do value local control, and we want to make sure that any design changes fit with the community.
Okay, thanks, Carrie.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Carrie, for that ton of information.
A little bit of an overload, and then perhaps I should come more often to give updates that Alan isn't necessarily we're a small staff, so we work on different projects. So, but thank you.
Good to hear all that, and really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's see. Comments from the public regarding items not on our agenda. Is anyone here to say something? Did we receive anything by email, anything like that? Seeing none, we will move on. Statements, conflict of interest. Anybody have any conflicts with this? Anything on our agenda? All right. Then seeing no conflicts, let's roll into our agenda item, Facade Improvement Program. Alan, you want to give us a rundown of what we've got here?
Yeah, so I think last time we did this, we did kind of, so I'd like to do kind of a broad overview, and then we can do each topic one by one, and then we can go about it that way, if that sounds good to everyone.
Perfect. Sounds great.
All right. So these are two applications for the Facade Improvement Program, which at the last meeting we discussed was recently revised. So the contribution increased, and essentially we're looking for long-term improvements within the commercial buildings of the city. So at the last meeting, we had allocated a little bit less than 50% of the funds for the fiscal year. So currently we have about $10,625 remaining in the total balance. We did receive 2 applications for this quarter, and without diving into too much detail before diving into that, if both were approved, we would still have roughly $5,800 in the fund. So with that, I would like to jump with the 107 to 121 North Main Street application, as the applicant is present.
Okay.
And the other one, they're currently not here, so I'd like to start with the one who's here.
Good.
So, the 107 to 121 North Main Street, the applicant / owner, or one of the owners, Ken Jacobs, is requesting a facade improvement rebate to install a new black awning on the building, which would include the building name on it. The applicant anticipates the signage to be roughly 6.67 square feet, which would be subject to an administrative sign permit, so a staff level sign permit. The applicant was quoted for the awning roughly $2,962. And with the administrative sign permit, it'd bring the total cost up to $3,111.80, which, if the board approves it, would qualify them for a rebate of $2,333.85. So that would conclude my presentation on this one facade improvement program. And if the board has any questions of me, please let me know. Otherwise, the applicant is here.
Okay. Any questions for Alan? Seems fairly straightforward. Ken, our applicant, you're here. Would you like to say anything? This seems fairly straightforward, but we'd welcome any comments you have.
Well, thank you. I have nothing to really add to the application, but I'm here if there's any questions from the board.
Great, thank you so much. Any questions of our applicant, board members?
Which building is it anyway?
So
What's
we're the
currently there?
building, what? I'm
Which
sorry,
buil-
Laura, if I can't tell where you're pointing, but we're the brick colored building right next to West America Bank that's on the breezeway. that cuts
yes,
into-
okay, yeah, okay.
And it's in the kind of in the breezeway portion. This is
Yes, exactly.
Are there currently awnings on the building? I was just curious.
No, there's not.
There are none? Oh, okay.
And if it's all right, I can pull up, I can share my screen, which has the building pulled up if you'd like.
Mhm.
So Ken, you're putting it on there for sun, just sort of sun and rain protection for the entry.
Sun and rain protection, but also we think it's going to make the building look a lot better from Main Street. Just another architectural feature on what's otherwise a kind of flat blank brick wall there.
Oh, okay.
There it is.
So you can kind of see where the awning will go on that picture. Alan, if you could,
Back.
I'm not sure where you're at there. Yeah, it's kind of blocked by that tree there right now, but
Oh, okay. Right.
yeah, so you can kind of see where those, between the tree and that weird fence thing on the top of the West America ATM, there's two doors there. That's where the awning will be, is over those two doors. One's an office and one goes into the upstairs hallway
Yeah.
Up on the second floor there.
on the second floor. Yes,
Mhm.
Yep, right there.
right there. Yes.
And so it's going to be a
That's
black awning with the name of the building. You don't have any text of what that it looks like. It's just, is it going to cover the whole awning, like big letters or any?
There's a, are you asking about the sign part or the overall awning?
Let me double check and see if we have it in.
I'm sorry, someone asked a question. Were you asking about the overall size of the awning or just the sign portion of it?
The text on the awning, it's in your application. It just calls out, it will be the name of the building. I was just curious, is it small letters, big letters, whatever, like what's that going to look like?
Yeah, there'll be 6-inch letters on the facing down lip of the awning, on the bottom part of the awning.
On the vertical skirt part.
Yeah. There's a picture, an illustration of it in the packet.
This one
Oh, it's just there. Oh, okay. That's
Yeah, that portion there where the cursor is. Yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
great.
And there's actually a picture that they did a mock-up of it, what it's going to look like there. That should be in your packet there.
Yeah, it just didn't have the letters. That's why I was asking. But no, that all looks
Mhm.
good.
Yeah, right there. That screen that's coming up there. You can
Mhm.
kind of, it'll just be on that bottom lip
Yeah.
of it there.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Looks good.
Thank you.
I do have a request though.
Yeah.
I would hope they make that awning a lot bigger so they cover up the West America building also. So we don't have to look at that thing. Any chance of doing that?
At least that weird wooden structure you just pointed out.
Yeah.
I guess my request was denied, but it'd be a good idea.
It's a big awning.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Or smart ass requirements, okay.
Or see, exactly. All right. Back to the board here. Any comments? It seems fairly straightforward.
No comment.
No
We-
comment.
Comments on want to throw out a motion for approval of this item?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the project as intended or submitted.
We have a motion. How about a second?
I'll do my second. I'm doing seconds today.
All right, Ron, continuing the tradition of second.
Okay.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's call the question. All in favor?
Okay.
All opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes and the application is approved. All right, thanks, Ken, and looking forward to seeing that awning up, and bigger is better over the top of the West America building would be great.
Hey, thank you all for your time, and special thank you to Alan for guiding us through the process here. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. All right, Alan, one to go.
Yeah, halfway there. So the next facade improvement application is 120 High Street. The applicant and building owner, Ben Wiley, is requesting the rebate to replace broken panes and mechanisms to the original casement windows at the building. The project's quoted in just shy of $4,000 and would qualify for the full rebate if approved. And just in case anyone's not familiar with the building, I'm going to pull it up in just a second on my screen. So it's kind of catty corner from City Hall. It's this building over here. And a lot of the windows and panes and I guess the mechanisms are broken on the windows, and they're looking to repair and replace those while keeping the actual casements themselves. So that would conclude it.
All right, thank you, Alan. Any questions of staff?
So I just to say, just to ask to be clear, they're replacing the glazing or the entire window itself?
So it's the window panes and the mechanisms for opening and closing them. They're looking to keep the casements in place.
Oh, okay.
Because they
Can you do that? Yeah.
yeah
So.
yeah, they like the casements, the style of it, and the architectural features that it adds, and are just looking to fix the damaged glass.
Does anyone know if they've been damaged for long? I'm just curious.
I think they've been a while. If you go down, especially if you go down High Street and you look on the right, there's some mismatched glass. There's some frosted glass. There's some broken glass. There's putty that hasn't been painted.
Sure.
I was wondering the same thing, and then I looked at the quote from Jack Smith Glass, and I saw that it was for 23 panes of 18 by 14 clear, and then 20 panes at 20 by 14. And then 6 bronze operators. So it looks like they're just, from what I could tell, they're just going to do, a pane here and a pane there, and to clean up that facade. So I had the same question. I'm like, oh, they've replacing those whole things, but they did mention that they wanted to retain the kind of historic nature of the building's casements. Any other questions for staff on this one? All right. Any comments? This one seems fairly straightforward.
Last time we saw this building, it had a big giant renovation and addition going on.
It did. It had like a second floor and all kinds of stuff.
Tower. Yeah, but I guess from I heard from Paul Fretz that the owner decided not to do all that.
Yeah. Decided to replace some glass instead. Let's see, second floor or a few panes of glass? A few panes of glass. All right.
That's fine to me.
Nobody has any comments? Can I have a motion for approval?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
And I'll second it.
Motion. Second tradition continues. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries and our second application is approved.
So thank you guys. And before we move on, I kind of want to get kind of, I guess, the board's opinion on bringing the facade improvement applications to the design review board. Is this something that the board wants to continue, or I think we're looking at possible updates to the program per the business community's requests? And I'm curious if this is something that the board wants to continue, or if they'd rather redelegate this back down to a staff level. I'm just inquiring to get feedback as if we are going to reopen this program, if there's any preferences or re-examine this program.
Good question. It's a great
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? I mean, we've seen a few things that are worthy of reviewing, but I mean, for the most part, it's been pretty straightforward. Is it
especially
helpful or hindering the
Yeah.
process?
Repair of things and things like that, kind of repair and replacement of in kind. Like today's the glass. That certainly
Yeah.
no brainer.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the question is, how do you describe that, the delineation between more significant and less?
And one maybe possibility, is if it requires a design review, kind of like the one that we saw in Weeks Way, where they were doing like the bamboo on the top of the building and all those type of little details that triggers design review, which you guys are going to see compared to a replacing kind type of application.
Yeah. Yeah, we have.
Actually, I have a comment here from Gregory. I had a long talk with him the other day, and one of the reasons why he did not reapply. I'm not going to get into detail here, but he thinks that the design review board is kind of going a little bit too far as deciding things, especially specific. I can't get to spit this out anyway. Too detailed, things that really don't apply to the design, that drags the process out. So I'm in pretty much agreement with him. I think we have to not overstep our boundaries here. I think this should be strictly design, and these are not our buildings. We're not the architects or the engineers on this project. And I think we don't want to overstep our boundaries here. And there's been some negative feedback coming back recently that I'm aware of. So less is more as far as the board is concerned, at least my point of view. I don't know if any of you agree with any of that, but I'm talking about feedback from the community here. So anyway, that's that. So less is more to me.
So you're referring to the facade improvement program?
No, as a general, not what we just did. No, that seems insignificant, and but generally being more generalist than specific little features that really are not significant to the structure at all. And anyway, but Gregory and I had a nice talk about that.
So
He may reapply at some point if things change.
And I want to note on that, non-agendized items, we do intend on having a retreat still with the design review board to kind of go over these kind of bigger picture type of questions. We've just been a bit backlogged with other projects at this time. So Ron, I appreciate that comment, and I hope we do have an opportunity to discuss that in the near future. In a little bit more depth and communication amongst the entire board.
I did bring that up a couple months ago, but we couldn't get it on the agenda. And I think we need to, as a group, talk about things in the future, where our direction is going. And I tried several times to do that and always hit a brick road with bureaucracy and not on the agenda.
Yeah.
So I hope that can be cleared up.
So what I'll do is, I do have a task list, and one of those items is the design review board retreat discussion, and I can certainly add that to the overall discussion, if that works for you.
I think so. I'd like to have a private meeting, but I know we cannot do that.
Yeah. So with that said, I'm going to just add that into it right now, into my task list, just so we can have that conversation.
Sounds like
Should ask this at public comment or matters of general interest, but what about the subjective guidelines versus current guidelines being more descriptive guidelines? Has that had any traction?
Give a brief update with that. I did compile kind of a list of what our existing guidelines are and presented them to Carrie. And I think the intention is to get the objective design guideline subcommittee together to kind of discuss those and go over them in more detail.
Mhm.
I believe she's taken the lead on that one. And so I think that includes Lars, Christine, Paul Fritz, and Patrick Slater.
Right.
Or maybe missing someone, but I believe that's going to be happening sooner than later.
Yeah, in everyone's spare time. Yeah,
But the general list has been compiled, and it's just kind of
really.
it's just kind of
Does it-
getting to that next step to have that subcommittee meeting.
Does that topic also target the tree mitigation and reports?
I do not believe that it does.
I'd like to kind of add that to that list that Ron mentioned earlier too, if we could, to talk about the notion of some of our guidelines for the tree board. We've talked about that in the past as well,
Yeah.
but it's been hard to agendize these things. We've been topsy-turvy since last year. It's, priority is what it is.
Yeah.
I think we're all doing our best here, and no disrespect to anyone who criticized the process, but I think this board's been, I think, clear to review guidelines and review guidelines. So
Yeah.
I think it's been steadfast in that approach versus personal agenda. So I'm gonna hold my ground on that note.
Well, what I'm talking about here is feedback I'm getting from my experience in the neighborhood, and here I'm getting a lot of feedback off and on. One was the tree board situation, which was extremely controversial when it was passed. A lot of people hated that, and there were a lot of chainsaws going the day before that passed. In a recent thing, and I know I'm going off the agenda again, but the removal of those redwood trees down there by the hospital, there was a fair amount of pressure to repopulate that particular area with the same number of trees. And I think we should have listened more to the owner of the building and the arborist as opposed to trying to put city rules on that. I mean, frankly, if you look at it now, I think it looks better without any trees. We don't always have to plant a tree if there's a bare spot in the ground. So anyway, I'll shut up on that one.
As a public comment, we have had multiple vacancies on this board. So anyone who can hear this should get involved, and to make change is to be the change. And you have to dedicate your time to do this, to be that change. Be a design review board member, be a planning commission member. It takes an application and the will.
Yeah. Or come to the meeting and make public comment.
That's certainly welcome as well. We're here to listen. I'm here to listen.
I hear them on the street because I'm a major dog walker, and I know most of the people in this neighborhood, and I get feedback from them. They do not do it through the board, but they ask me questions and they give me their opinion. These are mainly homeowners, not renters.
Opinion is different than action.
That's true.
Well, and that there are also opinion from people that aren't necessarily attending meetings and really are getting kind of secondhand information. I heard from somebody that somebody had a hard time with a tree, and so I don't really view this board as being particularly onerous. I think this board is pretty good at moving just about every application forward, and even on pretty significant design things. I mean, we move things forward in a couple of meetings, and in my experience with design proposals to design review boards, we're pretty expeditious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to go to Walnut Creek and try to get something approved, you better fasten your seatbelt for 4 to 6 meetings, and $15,000 bill to move something through a planning process. And I'm talking about a master sign program. I'm not talking about a design of a building. So I don't view Sebastopol as particularly onerous. I don't view our process as particularly onerous. I don't think we put unreasonable conditions on projects that come to us. But I think we can probably resolve a lot of this or work through a lot of this in a retreat. And I think adding the more objective guidelines to the topic of that retreat, I think adding maybe a review of tree guidelines to that retreat is a good idea. You know, we get very little participation from the public. So, you know, hearing criticism from, you know, the street doesn't mean a lot to me, frankly. I mean, it really doesn't. If someone wants to attend these meetings and hear it firsthand, they're welcome to, and that's what we're here for. And that's why it's recorded and available.
Mhm.
That's my 2 cents worth.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And
All right. And also on the topic of our retreat, if we could add the facade improvement program, just a discussion about that, and if everybody could give that a little bit of thought about where we might draw that line between staff level approval and something that comes to the design review. And I think Alan kind of hit it on the head. If it's something that staff thinks design review kind of needs to look at and would typically trigger a design review, it comes to us. And if it doesn't rise to that level, however that level is defined, it stays at staff level and gets processed. It's fine with me.
yeah.
Anyway, I'll give that a little more thought.
Yeah, thank you, guys. And I'll try to, I want to get the retreat sooner than later. I know we've had a kind of a dry spell with the DRB, with projects going to you guys for the last couple of months, but I want to show you we've been really busy. And all the annual reports are going to be coming to a conclusion in the next month or so. So hopefully we'll have a little bit of a time frame opening at that point. So hopefully in May, it will be my finger crossing.
Sounds great.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Alan.
Right.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, everybody. I think that concludes our agenda. So why don't we bring this to a close? Good seeing everybody.
Thanks so much.
Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks.